What if almost all of your suffering came from one single source, your own thinking? That's the radical claim at the heart of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, one of the most influential spiritual books of the modern era. Tolle isn't writing from an academic or religious tradition. He's writing from personal experience, a sudden, life-altering inner transformation he went through after years of depression and anxiety. What he discovered, and later spent his life teaching, is that true peace isn't something you find in the past or the future. It only exists in one place, right now, in this present moment. Let's walk through the core ideas that make up this book. Idea 1. You are not your mind. Tolle's starting point is a distinction most people never make, the difference between you, the awareness that is reading these words, and your mind, the constant stream of thoughts running through your head. Most people are so identified with their thinking that they believe they are their thoughts. Tolle argues this is a fundamental error. The mind is a tool meant to be used for practical purposes, but instead it runs compulsively, non-stop, commenting on everything, replaying the past, worrying about the future. He calls this uncontrolled mental noise a kind of collective illness, one so common that almost no one recognizes it as a problem because everyone around them has it too. The first step towards freedom, Tolle says, is simply noticing your own thinking, becoming the observer of your thoughts instead of being lost inside them. Idea 2. The pain body. Tolle introduces one of his most distinctive concepts here, the pain body. This is an accumulation of old, unresolved emotional pain from your past that lives inside you almost like a separate entity with its own energy. The pain body periodically wakes up and feeds on negative experiences. It wants you to think thoughts and create situations that generate more negativity, more conflict, more suffering, because that negativity is literally its food source. This is why people sometimes seem to provoke arguments or spiral into negativity for no clear external reason. The pain body is running the show, feeding itself. Tolle argues that simply recognizing the pain body when it activates, without judging it or fighting it, begins to starve it of the attention it needs to survive. Idea 3. The ego. Closely connected to the pain body is what Tolle calls the ego, a false sense of identity built entirely out of thought. The ego constantly needs external validation, possessions, achievements, opinions, and comparisons to others, because its sense of self is entirely dependent on these things. The ego thrives on labels like my and mine, and it strengthens itself through complaint, resentment, and being right. Tolle points out that the ego is especially fond of problems. It needs something to react against in order to feel like it exists. Recognizing when the ego is speaking through you, rather than assuming every thought and reaction is simply who you are, is a major step in loosening its grip.
This brings us to the title concept itself. Tolle argues that the present moment is the only time that has ever actually existed. The past is only a memory happening now. The future is only an imagined thought happening now. Life, quite literally, only ever takes place in this instant. Most human suffering, Tolle claims, comes from resisting the present moment, wishing things were different than they are, replaying old pain, or anxiously projecting into an uncertain future. When you fully accept and inhabit the present moment exactly as it is, without mental resistance, suffering dissolves, even if the external circumstances haven't changed at all. Tolle draws a careful distinction between practical, functional time, checking a clock, planning a meeting, remembering a lesson from the past, and what he calls psychological time, which is the mind's habit of living emotionally in the past or future rather than the present. Clock time is useful and necessary. Psychological time, according to Tolle, is the root of anxiety, regret, and most forms of chronic unhappiness. The goal isn't to abandon planning or memory altogether, but to stop identifying with the past and future as if they define who you are right now. Surrender, in Tolle's framework, doesn't mean passivity or giving up on life. It means releasing the internal resistance to what is already happening in this moment, since that resistance itself is often the actual source of suffering, separate from the situation itself. He distinguishes between the situation, which is simply what's happening, and your reaction to the situation, which is created by the mind. You can still take practical action to change your circumstances, but you do so from a place of inner acceptance rather than resentment or anxiety. Tolle argues this shift alone dramatically changes both the quality of your actions and your experience of life. Tolle offers a practical technique for anchoring yourself in the present, turning attention inward to the felt sense of your physical body, not thinking about the body, but directly sensing the subtle energy or aliveness within it. He suggests this as one of the most direct ways to interrupt compulsive thinking, because you cannot be fully identified with your thoughts and fully aware of your inner body's sensations at the same time. Regularly practicing this, even briefly throughout the day, gradually builds a stronger connection to presence.
Beneath the constant noise of thought, Tolle describes an underlying stillness that is always present, though usually ignored. He compares this to the silence beneath every sound, or the empty space that allows a room to actually be a room. This stillness, he argues, is closer to your true nature than any thought, emotion, or role you play in daily life. Accessing it doesn't require years of practice. It can be touched simply by pausing and becoming fully present, even for a few seconds at a time, repeatedly throughout an ordinary day. Idea 9. Enlightenment as a natural state. Tolle deliberately avoids describing enlightenment as some distant, mystical achievement reserved for monks and spiritual masters. Instead, he defines it simply as your natural state once you're no longer completely identified with your thinking mind. He argues that everyone has already experienced brief glimpses of this state, moments of being fully absorbed in nature, music, or an activity, where the mental chatter briefly goes quiet. The path forward isn't about acquiring something new. It's about removing the constant mental noise that obscures a piece that was already there underneath it. Conclusion. Tolle's central message throughout The Power of Now is refreshingly simple, even if it isn't always easy to practice. Stop living inside your head, replaying the past or worrying about the future, and instead return again and again to this present moment. Not your circumstances, not your possessions, not your achievements. The moment itself is where peace has been waiting all along. Whether you approach this book as a spiritual teaching or simply as a practical tool for reducing anxiety and overthinking, its central invitation stays the same. Notice your thoughts, don't become them, and come back to now. If this summary was helpful, let me know in the comments which idea stood out to you the most. And if you enjoy deep dive book breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe.